Coming up today on Eagle Eyes on Tech, the Internet Archive has been hacked yet again. We'll get into details on that. U.S. mobile carriers are fighting a new FTC ruling. Twitch blocked an entire country and is super sorry about it. We'll get into the details on that. Intel CPUs are a big disappointment, and Apple, they do in fact have more stuff coming. All that more coming today on Eagle Eyes on Tech. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or swim. Good morning. This is Eagle Eyes on Tech guy, Eagle Falcon. You know, I'll tell you what though. I don't have a lot to talk about today. I'll be honest. I'll be honest. No one else is going to be honest about that sort of thing. But it's going to be a dense episode today. We have quite a few topics to talk about, not in number, but in quality. The rare time where we actually have quality over quantity. But then again, I mean, we do have some small stories. Like, oddly enough, there's not a whole lot to really talk about in this one. But the Internet Archive was hacked again. This now makes it the third time the Internet Archive has been hacked. And in fact, the malicious attackers have access to the Internet Archive's internal emailing tools. This is kind of a big problem, and the fact that really what this is a sign of, you know, we say it's been hacked a third time. That's what everyone is saying. Realistically, unless we find out it actually is separate actors, I'll just say what a lot of us are thinking. They have been hacked once, but it's not controlled yet. That's really what it boils down to right now. They brought down the website, got data out of it, and now still have access to internal tools within the Internet Archive. Either the hackers are very good at what they're doing, or the Internet Archive is not very good at fending off an attack. And quite frankly, considering the fact the Internet Archive's job has been to just have a library of, you know, web pages, it doesn't surprise me at all that their internet security was lacking. Which then also raises the question, who attacks a cyber library? Let's take this into the real world for a second. Who robs a library? I'm sure it's happened, but when and why? But in any case, regardless of the reason why, other than to prove that they could, these jerks are still in there. They're still causing problems. And really, these hackers really are just making it worse for themselves. Like, this doesn't help anyone. Someone in chat says you'd be surprised how much people steal from libraries. I don't mean like never returning that one book. I mean like actually go in with like a major, like actual robbery. Like I know, for instance, trying to compare it to the library I grew up near is a really bad comparison, because that library was also connected to City Hall, so only a moron would try to go ahead and do anything reckless or stupid inside that library. Someone in chat says people walk in and out all the time without checking out. Would you really classify that as a robbery? Like, if I were to like translate that over to like an actual store, they wouldn't even be called robbery, it'd be called shoplifting. I'm talking an actual real intentional, maliciously intended robbery, because that's what you have to compare this to. These hackers went in with complete malicious intent. Yeah, it's still like, don't get me wrong, going in and stealing a book from the library and just quick in and out, still bad for the library. It's still theft, and you're still a terrible person for doing it. But you got to look at like the level of effort it takes to hack, say, the Internet Archive and commandeer control of its systems and still use it for over a month, and walking out with a library book you didn't check out at the library. Bit of a difference. So yeah, still problems with the Internet Archive. As of the time of recording this, the problems are still ongoing, as far as I'm aware. We have not heard any sort of update in regards to this story since. Right now, we're kind of in a wait and see situation with the Internet Archive. Meanwhile, though, let's get news that isn't depressing. Good news, by the way. The U.S. Copyright Office has gone ahead and made an exception to the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. They have gone ahead and said they are granting an exception, specifically allowing the repair of retail-level food preparation equipment, including soft-serve ice cream machines, similar to those available at, you can figure out where this is going, McDonald's. Yes, the U.S. Copyright Office says that, you know what, McDonald's, you are allowed to repair your own bloody ice cream machine instead of being stuck in an actual racket. Everyone raise your hands. You too can now enjoy, on the cheap, overpriced not ice cream. I actually just assume it's so. I have not looked at what the price is of like an ice cream cone at McDonald's. I have not checked in so long. The last time I looked at a McDonald's menu, I'm not gonna lie, I felt poor. Like, we've all had those days, right? You got a couple bucks in your pocket. You're just like, all right, I just need a quick bite to eat. I'll just go to McDonald's, quickly get something off the dollar menu. There is nothing you can get on the dollar menu anymore. The dollar menu starts at $3. And I'm sure some of you on the coasts can say, $3? Oh man, you guys are living the cheap life. Someone in chat says it's $3.50 for a McFlurry. That's not horrendous, actually. I somehow expected far worse. Or is this the part where we find out it suffered from shrinkflation and it is in fact like $3.50 for like a shot glass of ice cream and like 3 M&Ms? You would chuckle, but I wouldn't doubt it. I'm the only one chuckling, aren't I? Either way, this is still a step in the right direction, because honestly, the whole thing that was going on with the ice cream machines, I should probably explain that, shouldn't I? So McDonald's is a franchise, all right? That means that it's not one major overarching company that owns all the McDonald's. They instead sell the ability for anyone to open up a McDonald's, and then a list of guidelines must be met in order to run that McDonald's. And in the end, you as the opener of the McDonald's have the benefit of owning McDonald's and reaping all of the profits that generates, while only having to pay a what's the word I'm looking for? Franchising fee to the parent company of McDonald's. One of these requirements is that you had to use a very specific kind of self-cleaning ice cream machine from this one specific company, and that company held a copyright on tools that were used to repair it. So only that company, the parent company of the ice cream machines, could go ahead and fix those. Do they actually have the name of the parent company that made those? I want to say it's like Taylor or something like that. I am not finding the name of it. I want to say Taylor was yep, there it is. It was in fact the Taylor company ice cream machines that were being used. And the thing is that like the error codes it would display when there's a malfunction were undecipherable. There was a third party that made a tool that let you decipher the error code so that you had a prayer of repairing it. But then there was a lawsuit against that third party repair group, and it was a long running thing. The amount of lengths that Taylor went to just have a monopoly on fixing these ice cream machines at every McDonald's there ever was. And it was a racket. It really, really was. So seeing the US Copyright Office go ahead and say, maybe, just maybe, we should make an exception so that a company cannot go ahead and create an ice cream mafia. Good! What a novel concept that is. I am sure pretty much every single McDonald's owner is super, super happy about this. Now, if only they could do something about getting their costs under control so that they can stop charging $28 for a Big Mac or however much it actually is nowadays. You must be able to get a meal for like $5. It wasn't good for you, but $5 is $5. I think $5 now gets you a bag of chips and a kick to the shin. In other legal news, a lawsuit is arguing that the state of, I just lost it, Virginia is in violation of the Constitution by deploying countless flock surveillance cameras. Oh God, someone in chat just reminded me about the E. coli outbreak that McDonald's just had. I completely forgot about it. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I heard it over the radio, and then it just like went in one ear and out the other, and it's like, oh, well, I brought a salad with me to work anyway, so whatever. They like said it was like their onions or something, right? But somehow it was specifically only onions they used for the quarter pounder. I find it hard to believe that it was just that they have specific onions they specifically use for one sandwich only. I don't believe it was just that. I don't believe it for 1 second. In any case, flock surveillance cameras everywhere to go ahead and use AI assistance to watch for any kind of illegal behavior, as well as trying to catch speeders and identify those cars via their license plate. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the thought of this kind of technology just being used in the first place, when push comes to shove, I know the argument's going to be, well, you don't have to worry about it. You have, as long as you obey the law, you have nothing to fear. I get that, all right? But here's my counterpoint. That's a crap argument. Like, this is literally some dystopian stuff here, always being watched by Big Brother and automatically with machines and AI being reported for crimes. No, the lawsuit should absolutely move forward. The fact that this is going on at all is, I'm not gonna lie, terrible. We've seen a lot of other countries try to go ahead and do this sort of thing and then getting a lot of pushback and then taking it down. Why did, and was, they said Virginia in this? A federal lawsuit in Virginia arguing the wise, yada. Is this really just like, okay. I need to clarify, because it did seem weird that it was the entire state of Virginia. It's not. It is specifically the city of Norfolk, Virginia, that is doing this. Definitely need to get that clarification in there. Yeah, no. In my opinion, not a legal expert, not legal advice, etc. In my opinion, this is an open shut case. They're going to be forced to take these down. I'm sorry, but this is awful. 100% awful. Apparently they're going to, there's 172 of these things. Always watching and always scanning. I'll give them credit. It is efficient. It is very cost efficient than to go ahead and have all those cops out in the field. But no. That's just I hate every part of that thought. Almost 200 cameras throughout the entire town, always watching to see if you're breaking the law. It's bad enough when I feel like I'm walking around down the street and it feels like someone's watching me. Like, I hate that feeling as it is. Ugh. Meanwhile, US regulators want to go ahead and push for a new rule, this specifically from the FCC. I think I originally said FTC in the preview, but I digress. Someone in chat says, tell that to your cell phone. I do. Every morning I wake up, I look at my phone and say, hello, what's the weather? Stop spying on me. No, I hate when my phone does it too. Good thing for the most part, most of the things my phone sees is my thigh with no light. But in any case, the FCC is looking to push forward new regulation requiring that carriers unlock phones within 60 days of activation, thus making it so that you would not be locked and tied to a carrier for years and actually have options moving forward. Carriers, of course, do not want this and say that this ruling is terrible because, of course, it is anti-consumer. We need to lock down your phone. We need to lock down your phone for multiple years to make phones accessible to the consumers. Now, I'm not going to lie. There's an argument for this one. I don't know which way to go on this, to be perfectly honest. Because right now, here in the US, our phones are dirt cheap unless you're silly. Unless you go ahead and get something way over the top, like a Galaxy Fold or some other $2,000 or $3,000 phone. What you're paying on pickup is near nothing, and then you're just paying little bit by little bit over the course of 2 years until your next upgrade. Like, that's how it works in the US. And sometimes you don't read fine print and find out that you don't even own the phone after it's all done. You actually leased the phone, so you pay even less, but then have no phone to speak of, and you're paying for it forever until you upgrade to something else. This rule would make it so that the most that a carrier could lock a phone to the user is 2 months. This means that the whole paying over the course of 2 years sort of thing that a lot of carriers do in the US, that would have to be gone. And you would have to almost exclusively buy unlocked phones. This would mean pretty much the death here in the States of people getting flagship phones, except for a very small number of consumers. If you'd want one of those crazy high-end phones that are close to $1,000, guess what? You better have $1,000 to drop. That's just all there is to it. But at the same time, if you find out that, oh, hey, my carrier went ahead and put a massive fee that I don't use, that they hid from me, you can go ahead and just swap carriers and then not have to worry about it. Huzzah, huzzah all around. So what's the better way to go? Technically, you can already just buy an unlocked phone and just not worry about this. So in the end, the FTC, or rather the FCC in this case, really is, as T-Mobile and AT&T are saying, just making phones less accessible to consumers. This one I'm kind of curious about. What does everyone think about this? Because there really is nothing stopping you from just buying an unlocked phone right now in the States and just getting it on whatever carrier you want without signing some kind of locked contract for years. Is this worth it? It's hard to say right now. It really, really is. Meanwhile, though, Microsoft has unveiled new, what they're calling AI agents that'll be used for figuring out how many more jobs we can go ahead and just eliminate. Specifically, the whole part of this is going to be for reigniting the competition between Microsoft and another company called Salesforce. So what they're doing is they're announcing 2 new AI agents for its Dynamic 365 line of business applications. And these tools are going to be out there so you can specifically complete autonomous tasks in areas including sales, service, finance, and supply chain operations. That's right. Microsoft is looking to try and encourage your company to just drop that one guy in charge of supplies or drop that one guy that's in charge of sales. This also means that you too can look forward to the world's wordiest nothing sales pitch that ever blighted the planet because of AI. I honestly am very eager to see how well this AI works, because it's gonna do one of 2 things. It is either gonna have every single human sales guy point and laugh at Microsoft and the Salesforce company for putting out the dumbest programs to try and replace their jobs, or it is going to go ahead and replace tons upon tons of workers out there that have a long history in sales just to be replaced by a chat bot, and that people wouldn't be able to tell the difference. And that is horrifying. This is either going to be hilarious or so depressing it's not even funny. Like, is there a way that is there any other way this ends up? Kind of hard to say that, right? For now, all we can do, wait and see how this rollout goes. One last story before the break. ByteDance actually has an internal problem. There was one intern within ByteDance that was fired for trying to sabotage their AI models. Now, with this said, can we just say, so there is someone in tech that's actually trying to fight back? I wasn't sure. I legitimately was not sure, if at all, there was anyone within tech that was actually going to push back against AI. Because, man, everyone's just like, oh, man, more AI, inject AI straight into my veins. Like, it's almost a meme at this point, how it's just all tech is all in on AI for no adequately explored reason. Finally, we found one intern that was against it and spoke with actions, not words. He, of course, has been terminated and will most likely not get a job in tech at all, because the entire tech sector is obsessed with AI. But you know what? He bought us time. He bought us time. That being said, Eagle Eyes on Tech and its affiliates do not promote any time of corporate sabotage whatsoever. Corporate sabotage is bad. All right? We're mostly joking here. Don't sabotage your work. Do not sabotage your work. Someone in chat says he could have been incompetent. You know, if you accidentally plant malicious code in AI models, the result's going to be the same as it being intentional. In fact, you might just own up to it. You might just claim that it was intentional, just because that looks better on your resume at that point. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, I want to talk about Twitch and its state of where it provides services. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Eagle Eyes on Tech. I'm Eagle Falcon. Twitch is once again, I know it's gonna be a shocker, but Twitch is once again in a bit of hot water based on moderation. I know. I can't believe it either. I mean, come on, are you surprised? Twitch making controversial moderation decisions? Oh no. So, what cam girl promoting pornography did they refuse to ban this time? And what wholesome anime girl did they ban this time? Oh, no. I'm sure that has happened, but no, we're going deeper than that. And no, we're not talking about Asmongold. We already talked about that. Do you know that Twitch blocked an entire country from signing up? It's true. Apparently, Twitch went ahead and did block all of Israel from making an account and verifying it. The actual statement they posted on the Twitters is as follows. We wanted to address the concerns we've seen about whether we're preventing Twitch account signups in some regions. When signing up for a Twitch account, you can select an account verification method, email or phone, for added protection. Following the October 7th, 2023 attacks, we temporarily disabled signups with email verification in Israel and Palestine. We did this to prevent uploads of graphic material related to the attack and to protect the safety of users. Let me interject. No, they blocked signups with both email and phone verification. They did in fact block both. This was confirmed later on, And in fact, there's a community note proving exactly that. The message continues. Signups were not disabled, and we continue to see signups from both regions. Users could choose to sign up with phone verification. We've learned that inadvertently, we did not re-enable email verification signups for either region. We deeply regret this unacceptable miss and the confusion it has caused. We fixed the issue, meaning that all affected users can sign up with email verification. We've also heard concerns about whether our community guidelines apply to all content on our service. We continue to enforce our rules as consistently as possible, and we are actively reviewing content and taking enforcement action where needed. That is the entire statement from Twitch support. Let me just tell you this right now. If you're enforcing the rules as consistently as possible, you suck at enforcing the rules consistently. And on top of that, I'm just gonna say, blocking any kind of verifications, which you basically need in order to stream in both Palestine and Israel, but not doing anything in Russia or Ukraine ever, doesn't make you look good. Nor does continuing to not take any action against rather disrespectful streamers who have gone ahead and actually broadcasted borderline and actual terrorist material on Twitch. I'm mostly speaking of the streamer Assange, of course. It doesn't help your case either. And it's not like this is the first time we're ever talking about content enforcement problems. I swear, every year for the past 4 years, we hear again and again and again and again and again and again and again from every single major announcement regarding features coming to Twitch, what's coming? Better enforcement and clarity of our community guidelines. And every single year we hear amendments being made to clarify said community guidelines. Even though, right now, the community guidelines are still as clear as mud. In fact, the last clarifications actually made it very unclear as to Twitch's stance on drinking alcohol on stream. Because the rules as written ban all forms of consumption of alcohol on stream, whereas the brand new examples that were added show that you can consume alcohol in moderation. I don't understand how Twitch can be so bad at writing up their own guidelines. It is impressive on how inconsistent Twitch is at this, and how inconsistent Twitch is at going ahead and trying not to make themselves look like clowns. Because on one hand, we have real life girls in micro bikinis in front of an inflatable pool selling their OnlyFans, which breaks 3 different community guidelines. Because community guidelines say that having an inflatable pool to broadcast in the hot tub section does not count. It actually has to be a proper setting. You cannot promote pornographic material from a third-party site, and you cannot be wearing an outfit that exposes side cleavage, under cleavage, and the hips. You go ahead and find a VTuber with a permanent outfit that cannot potentially expose any sort of sexual content. Ban on the spot. Ban on the spot. I am not saying at all that we just need to embrace lewd content. I am not saying that at all. I'm just saying, Twitch, go ahead and do this crazy thing called do what you preach. You preach that the rules apply to everyone. Okay. Asmongold said horrible things about a culture. He gets suspended for 2 weeks. Totally get that. Hassan goes and plays an actual terrorist video and interviews terrorist pirate on his stream. Not even a warning. You see the problem here? Because now here's the best part, right? All I do on my Twitch is play video games and record a podcast and give my opinion on inane things. I do a podcast about the state of technology. That's all I do. My opinion about the new Intel processor does not matter. It really doesn't. It's not hurting anyone, except for maybe Intel because they actually launched a bad product. We'll get to that later though. But now when I tell someone I stream on Twitch, unless they're actually familiar with how Twitch operates, there's a good chance they go on Twitch and the first thing they find is incredibly suggestive streams right on the front page. Or heck, right now, because this is all being brought to the front line, or the front page of all the news, with Asmongold being banned for saying an entire culture is inferior, and because they went ahead and keep a streamer on that went ahead and interviewed a terrorist, a friendly interview, I might add. Now I'm associated with that, and I want nothing to do with that. And guess what? I'm not in some sort of weird minority on Twitch. I would dare argue I am very much in the majority of this on Twitch. But lo and behold, because of this crazy nonsense that's going on, because these exceptions are brought to the limelight and Twitch does nothing about it, about these clear violations of their guidelines, now I'm associated with this nonsense, and I'm not happy with that. Someone in chat asked, can you still shill for your Patreon on Twitch? You absolutely can, as long as your Patreon does not include pornography. That's all Twitch asks. As far as promoting a third-party website, I can go ahead and tell people on Twitch, hey, by the way, I also simulcast on YouTube and I post short clips there at youtube.com/EagleFalcon. That is fine by Twitch standards, but let's pretend I had an OnlyFans. I don't, by the way, not from a lack of trying, but I digress. I can't promote my OnlyFans if the OnlyFans has pornographic material on there. That is not allowed. Or what's the other one? Fansly. That's also actually where a lot of these VTubers are getting got, and they just don't realize it. Because they have links to their Fansly that does have lewd material. You can't do that on Twitch. That is against the community guidelines. But the thing is that that's being enforced very inconsistently. You can't be doing that, Twitch. It's sending the wrong message. But yeah, that's what's going on at Twitch. Someone in chat said there are streams of copyright content like Simpsons, Family Guy, and South Park in many languages. That still happens on Twitch, but they are far less common and do often get shut down. So like one thing that did happen with recent dealings within Twitch is that there is a lot of there's a lot of copyright skimming bots that do make copyright claims on live streams. Like we actually do now have like a copyright strike system on Twitch, and those streams are being taken down for going ahead and trying to do that sort of stuff, where actually that kind of content is very rampant and very little is being done about it is Kick. Kick does nothing and gives 0 F's about that sort of thing. You'll also find that on YouTube as well, but YouTube also, kind of in the same vein as Twitch, do shut those down relatively quickly. Just not as much as people would hope, you know, being a blatant violation of copyright. Meanwhile, though, ARM has a problem. The problem is Qualcomm. So, you all know Qualcomm, right? Qualcomm makes a whole lot of stuff, but mainly right now, Qualcomm's biggest moneymaker, and it's not even close, is the Snapdragon processor. In fact, they've recently came out with the Snapdragon X Elite processors. These are the ones you find in those new fancy Windows for ARM laptops, or what do they call them? Windows with Copilot, or some other stupid, I don't know, man. the more and more I talk about frickin' Microsoft and what they want to do with Windows, the more I want to switch to Linux. I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of over Microsoft at this point. Like I'm just gonna go full Penguin, and it's not even. It's just gonna be for all this AI nonsense. Anyway, it turns out Qualcomm is not paying their licensing fees to ARM, and in fact, the feud is escalating to the point where Qualcomm may not be allowed to make ARM chips at all. I'm still a little fuzzy on all the details and how long it's been going on, but this is now starting to kind of boil above the surface of insider business news, and now starting to get into the territory of, wait a minute, if Qualcomm can't make ARM chips, like legally, what's going to happen to the smartphone market? Like what? Are they just going to go ahead, continue to make them, flip off ARM, and then watch it all being taken to court, and then watch a mandatory recall of every smartphone in existence? Or is every single phone just going to switch over to, like, who else makes smartphone chips? Like, everything runs on a Snapdragon. I think Samsung still makes an Exynos chip. But holy smokes, good luck trying to get Samsung to make that many chips. Like, the fact that this is going on, and that this might actually end up going down where Qualcomm just isn't making Snapdragon parts anymore, it is wild that it's going this far. Someone in chat said Pixel phones. Oh, good. We can go ahead and use the weird processor from the company that wants to go ahead and sell you a phone that relies on the cloud. And before you go, the Pixel phones do a lot on the phone. Yes, it can. And Google still says it wants to do it all on the cloud. To the point where they want you to go ahead and buy a subscription to use features on your phone. Someone in chat says MediaTek still exists. Do they actually still make a... How good of a mobile chip does MediaTek make? Like, can it actually rival the Snapdragon? Like, is that going to end up being the future of smartphones? We're not only going to want to go ahead and just keep using our older phones, just not only to save money, but because they're actually faster than the new ones. Whew. Oh my God. Actually, just imagine if there's no Snapdragons and everyone has to switch to more inferior parts, it means that the only phones that are actually going to see a performance increase are the Pixel phones and the iPhones. Ooh. Every other Android phone would actually see a performance hit in their next generation, unless Qualcomm actually gets its act together and settles this dispute like actual civilized people. God, I didn't even think about that. This is all going to be very, very interesting. So for now, all we can do is wait and see how it goes. Someone in chat says, isn't MediaTek in a fair amount of Chromebooks? We're talking about real computers. A for effort, though. Speaking of real computers, let's talk for a minute about production of other parts. So going on the whole topic of what's going to happen with smartphones, Intel and Samsung are currently working on a foundry alliance to share their production facilities along with process tech. So this sort of thing actually could help not only advance Intel's fabrication process, which would help Intel processors, but also help push Samsung Exynos processors forward as well, which actually may in fact help the shortage if Qualcomm does decide to not become, grown adults. I know. What a scary thought. Actually behaving. So all in all, huzzah, huzzah. The whole point is, in fact, to go ahead and try and counter and go up against head-to-head with TSMC's practical de facto monopoly over the chip fabrication industry. I'll just tell you this right now. If you are unaware of this, just about every single electronic chip that is made, whether it be a subcontroller, a graphics card, a CPU, or whatever it is, odds are better than not, it came from TSMC. Someone else designed it. AMD, Nvidia, AMD again, Apple. Someone else may have designed it, but in fact, TSMC is the one that actually made it. Intel does make their own CPUs. That's why I didn't include them in that, but they're a bit behind. So working with Samsung to go ahead and try and accelerate things, it's their attempt for both of them to try and advance themselves and catch up to the massive juggernaut in the room. And granted, Intel needs it because, well, the Intel Ultra 200 series CPUs have launched. And let me tell you an old story, all right? Long ago, there is a CPU architecture called NetBurst. Okay? NetBurst is better known as Pentium 4. And there are multiple iterations of this NetBurst technology. And at the time, it did relatively well. And it just kept improving with gains here and there, but it kept getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter, all chasing after the highest clock speed it possibly could. This sounds very familiar, right? Well, here's the thing. Eventually, Intel came to the conclusion that, in fact, they could not keep going down the path of NetBurst. It was not sustainable. Thus came the next architecture known as Core. These first launched as the Core Solo and Core Duo processors. And before you think, oh, these are the first dual core processors from Intel, they're not actually. Intel did have a Pentium D and a Pentium D Extreme, which were two NetBurst Pentium 4 chips sandwiched on top of each other, which I swear got hot enough to self-ignite. It didn't actually, but holy cow, did it seem like it could. But here's the thing. When Core Solo and Core Duo first launched, its performance compared to the outgoing Pentium Ds and Pentium D Extremes was garbage. Okay? It was absolutely terrible. But it was more power efficient, it was a smarter platform, and in the end, Core made NetBurst completely obsolete. And eventually, a few generations down, came its predecessor, Core 2, which had a code name I can't remember off the top of my head. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and find it real quick on this page. I can't find it. Oh, Penryn. There we go. Eventually came the Penryn processors, better known as Core 2. Those chips, those of you who are old enough to remember that time during 2000, what would that be? 2005? 2004, 2005, around then? Got the page up. I should just look this up. Oh, 2006. Those chips paved the way forward for Intel. Ladies and gentlemen, the Intel Core Ultra 200 has a terrible name, but let me tell you something. These new chips are 100% reliving the days of Core Solo and Core Duo. Because these chips, compared to the outgoing ones, suck. Oh my god, are they awful. These chips are a radical redesign for Intel. These are using what is called a chiplet design, meaning that they're using several smaller chips fabricated together to make one big chip. All of the performance cores and efficiency cores, they are no longer on one monolithic die. they are in fact glued together. It is a redesign of how they're functioning. And in fact, for gaming performance, Core Ultra 200 loses pretty much across the board. And in fact, in one case, actually does way worse than its outgoing chip. Hero Gamer Hero marks that it actually does significantly worse in Cyberpunk 2077 against the old 12600K. Yikes. But here's the reason why I tell you the story of NetBurst and Core. This is just the first step. This technology is going to be improved, and then improved, and then improved, and then improved. Because Core 2 was incredible. Eventually, it gave birth to Nehalem and the very first Core i7 chip, which began Intel's complete dominance over AMD. You could see something like that again, as AMD, not gonna lie, has gotten a bit complacent in what they're doing. You look right now at both CPU manufacturers. AMD CPUs right now, the performance versus the previous gen, barely there. It is barely better than the outgoing generation. Intel, you're actually losing if you get a brand new CPU. Heck, you're actually losing if you get a CPU this generation, the previous generation, or the generation before that. It's just lose across the board. In the end, this chip you should pass on. And I guarantee you, eventually, this chip is going to see massive price cuts because it has to. Because right now, it makes no sense to get one of these brand new chips. You're much better off getting a chip from, well, the 12,000 series. I mean, heck, 14,000 series goes ahead and just absolutely stomps this chip across the board, but you really shouldn't get a 14,000 series, period. Just don't do that. Just don't. You especially shouldn't get a used one. Like, honestly, this is not the year to get a brand new PC. It really, really isn't. This is definitely the year that if you have to upgrade your PC, just upgrade what little you can. Because the performance to dollar, it ain't there. And it's not just Intel as well. And you want to know how I can prove it? You want to know how I can prove that AMD knows that they messed up on their generation as well? Yeah, they cut the price of their brand new Ryzen 9000 series CPUs, like across the board. $30 to $50 off across the board on all of these chips. And here's a spoiler for you. This still isn't worth it, because you can get pretty much the exact same performance minus a little bit by just going to the 7000 series and save yourself $50 to $100 across the board. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to get a brand new chip. Now, AMD did announce that on November 7th, the new Ryzen... Oh, this little screenshot doesn't actually include the amount. What is it? The 78X3, the 7800X3D is going to be coming out. This could be the new king of gaming CPUs, this Ryzen processor. Absolutely raffle stomping anything Intel has. But here's the thing. It's probably just going to match the 7800X3D. Like, yeah, Ryzen 9000 is more power efficient. If prices were equal, I'd say, yeah, go ahead and get a 9000 series over a 7000 series, but they're not. There's just no reason to. The 7000 series performs just as well as the 9000 series, and because they're last gen, $100 to $300 cheaper depending on where you look, and also depending on which chip you're getting. Maybe 300 is a bit over generous. Someone in chat asked, weren't people jumping ship on the latest X3D? No. People were jumping ship off the latest non-X3D. The 9000 series across the board was just like, all right, so they launched this, right? They launch the 9800. The 9800 loses loses to the 7800X 3D in gaming performance and is cheaper. And then we all laughed at the 9800 because it's just like, but why? Why would we pay more for less performance? This is silly. We're not going to do that. So yeah, you know what? This, like I said, this is definitely the PC generation of just touch up what you got. You know how there's always the wait for the next generation, wait for the next generation, wait for the next generation, wait for the next generation. The next generation is here, and the next generation is saying, nah, you good. You good with what you got. There is not a compelling reason, even if you had thousands upon thousands of dollars burning a hole in your pocket, to spend money on this. It doesn't make sense unless you really do just want the newest, shiniest parts, and no one's going to tell you how to spend your money. That's the only reason you're going to do it, is because you just hate money. Just be smart. Don't bother. Meanwhile, maybe you're thinking, you know, I'll go ahead and just spend money on the next Steam Deck, right? Well, Valve wants to go ahead and just tell you, don't bother. We don't plan on having regular refreshes. We just say, you know what we got out there, it's good. We don't want to go ahead and play the constant refresh cycle game. There's no reason to do that. It's not fair to customers. That's it. The end. Here's what I'll say about that. I get where you're coming from, Valve. However, might I recommend like an every 2-year cycle or an every 3-year cycle? Because games do improve. And you know how like the Switch right now struggles to play the basic games it has? We don't want you to turn into the Switch. That's all I'm saying. Okay? I don't mind the skipping a few generations. That's fine. That's fine. There's no reason to have a new indie title come out and then the little AMD chip that's in there just absolutely struggle and cry to go ahead and launch the latest and greatest Slay the Spire clone or whatever. Like, it doesn't need to run whatever the new Crisis is. It doesn't need to go ahead and run what would be the most demanding game nowadays. What is the most demanding game nowadays? Is it still Cyberpunk? No, something's had to top it. Guess it'd be Microsoft Flight Sim, right? Someone in chat says apparently Valve was waiting to do significant jumps in hardware performance from what they're reading before they do a refresh. And that I agree with. That I 100% agree with. I do think that there should be great advancement. Because like right now, there's no reason to go ahead and embrace a what Ryzen are we on now? Ryzen 5 or Zen 5? There's no reason to switch to a Zen 5 version of the Steam Deck. There just isn't. The performance there doesn't make sense. All right, someone in chat says it is important to us, and we've tried to be really clear. We are not doing the yearly. Kenan said Yang, we're not going to do a bump every year. There's no reason to do that. And honestly, from our perspective, that's kind of not really fair to your customers to come out with something so soon that's only incrementally better. We really want to wait for a generational leap in compute without sacrificing battery life before we ship a real second generation of the Switch. But it is something we're excited about and we're working on. That was a quote that someone in chat has given me. Yeah, am I going to scroll down in this exact article and find that? Yes. Yes, it is. That almost that exact same quote. Except my article took out a few things. So yeah, with that, I do agree. I 100% do agree. Speaking of regular updates, Apple! Apple! Yay! They went ahead and pushed out brand new invites. And it is for, well, if you're watching us live, it's out for tomorrow. If you're listening to this podcast when it comes out, it is most likely right now. It is in fact on Monday. Unless people can't tell what the date is and it's actually next Monday, in which case I hate the media. Because all they kept saying was Monday without saying an exact date for which Monday. They just kept saying Monday. And I'm not going to lie, I'm not thrilled about the fact that everyone just kept saying Monday, which could mean anything. It could mean the Monday before Christmas. I don't know. They just said Monday. I thought it was your job to go ahead and actually provide information. Someone in chat said it could be Monday 10 years from now. It could be. It is, in fact, a Monday. But a lot of people expect there's going to be MacBook Pros, iMacs, Mac Minis, and blah, 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 blah. And also going to have new Apple Intelligence features, blah, 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 blah. Is Apple Intelligence even out yet? Can I also say I am stunned that Apple advertised Apple Intelligence so freaking hard before it was even out. That is some Google level of insanity right there. To go ahead and advertise like a feature is out before it is out. You never see Apple do that. And AI has Apple so brain rotted, they're falling into the same traps that other people did as well. I'm actually going to go ahead and take a look at this. When is the Apple Intelligence release date? It is literally tomorrow. It's still not out. It comes out tomorrow. How many people will give me $5 if I declare now they're going to announce a delay on Apple Intelligence tomorrow? I'm not going to offer anything if I'm wrong, because there's a good chance I'm actually wrong, and they'll just ship out whatever half-baked nonsense is out. Because that just seems to be the brain rot of like every single tech company when it comes to AI. They don't care how badly it works overall. The fact they got one demo to go ahead and push out a piece of artwork that looked kind of good that one time, they're like, fantastic, ship it. They don't care about the fact that it went ahead and generated a squirrel with 12 fingers and 3 thumbs. Who cares about that? Nah, ship it. And I do mean it when I say like this kind of nonsense really is some kind of brain rot with every single tech company. Oh God, I just realized how far along in the clock. We should have taken a break, but we're committed now. We only got 2 stories left. There is a leak from Nintendo. I know, shocker. This is actually involving a Switch online playtest program that showed people playing a Minecraft-like game, but with MMO features. To which I gotta ask, Nintendo, do you just like being fashionably late to every trend in existence? I cannot wait until 2035, after everyone finally gets sick of generative AI and we've moved on to the next form of artificial intelligence that actually functions decently well, reliably, and Nintendo jumps on board generative AI and generates custom pictures of Mario with 28 fingers. One of the fingers looking suspiciously phallic. Someone in chat says NFTs. Didn't Nintendo actually try to get in on NFTs? Wasn't that a thing they actually tried to do and it didn't go well? And they like tried to do it like after the crash already happened? Or was that something else that tried that? But in any case, we'll have to wait and see what Nintendo has planned. Someone in chat asked if it was Sony. Maybe it was Sony. Anyway, we have the last bird, the last story, the weirdest story of the week. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you the Lost World. No, really. Researchers basically want to build the Lost World, but with robots. Long extinct animals could be resurrected as robots to shed light on evolution. You know what, though? Going ahead and taking this step to go ahead and just making the robotic Lost World, I'm all in favor of, just because, first off, A, it helps the researchers, and then B, it gets everyone with a defective brain to lose their minds, because they're just going to assume that dinosaurs now roam the earth, just straight up. And the best part is, because researchers went ahead and built the robots, they're going to be too stupid to be controlled by generative AI. So we don't have to worry about a robot uprising. We do have to worry about them going ahead and just rolling on their backs and doing nothing. But I, for one, look forward to people that have an iPhone 16 Pro try to take a picture of a Paleosaurus, claim it's the Loch Ness Monster, and have it look like the most out of focus log that ever existed. I'm telling you this right now. Somehow, the nut jobs are still going to go ahead and take the best camera technology we have to offer that fits into a pocket, and it is still going to look like a smear on the lens. Folks, that is going to do it for this episode of Eagle Eyes on Tech. Thank you so much for listening, and I do encourage you to check out my other works at youtube.com/EagleFalcon and at twitch.tv/EagleFalcon. Take care, and hopefully I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. The live chat is now convinced this is how we start creating the Digimon anime and making it real life. And I, for one, gotta say, I'm not ready for that. I am not ready for, you know, my random bipedal, like, raptor cute thing to suddenly get giant and have a Gatling gun on its right arm out of nowhere. That I'm not ready for. But then again, it will cause all the conspiracy theorists to go ahead and say that the government are going ahead and weaponizing the dinosaurs. And just hearing those kind of crazy conspiracy theories might make up for the actual fear of actually having to worry about dinosaurs with Gatling guns. There's a lot to consider in all of this.